Hello, guys. All right, I'm here. I Hello, Topher and Logan. We got some regulars in here. Yeah, I was I kind of like I I didn't have the announcement earlier, um, because I was I I just was caught up in something and it was 3:16 and I realized, oh, I have my stream to do. Suddenly have to do that. Hi, Tabby. And so here we are. Um, so last time we left off, we had finished the subordinate clauses, and so we've got negatives sorted out. We've got questions sorted out. Sort of. I haven't actually figured out. Um, Topher, the podcast is on this same channel. You just go onto the Con Langery channel. You go into. I think that the podcast is like its own tab on the channel page. Um, but there's also a playlist and stuff. Um, I now That's only the video episodes that are on YouTube. I have not gone back through the audio archive and converted all those to videos to post yet. Um, that is a project for the future, and I just have not had time to get that done. Um, so, yeah, you can get all of the video episodes here. For the audio episodes, just go to any podcatcher, or you can go to the website conlanger.com, and you can listen to audio archives there. Um, there's there was an episode last year with Logan here about whistle languages. If people were interested in that, yeah. Yeah, so you can listen to the audio. Yeah, the and I am still publishing my podcast as audio too. It's um, it's fairly easy to just export audio while I'm exporting video, so I just do that. Um, anyway, so we've got the major syntactic constructions that we need. We've got negatives, we've got questions, we've got relative clauses. We don't have subordinate clauses yet. And so the thing with that, we're going to have to sort that out a lot on our own, um, because I mean, we're always doing things on our own, but there's going to be less um, influence of dice on this particular thing because the issue is that there's not really a whole lot of features. There's like four features that can relate to subordinate clause structures. Actually, just three, but I added in a fourth one because it worked related. So like serial verb constructions, that's not really. It can be they can be used in places where another language might use a clause. So I'm going to include it in here. And clause chaining, whether you can chain clauses together. And then we that has switch reference. Does the language have switch reference? And the other is, does it have a distinction between simultaneous and sequential clauses. That can be useful when we're talking about time expressions, if there's some kind of marking for that. So I'm going to go ahead and roll, and we will get things sorted. Okay. So actually, let's roll. Which one are we going to roll first? I went ahead and made these different dice. Then I have a D20 I need, and I need a D12. Well, if I can find one. Yeah, D12. Okay, so let's roll our D12 first, and then we're going to see whether we have these things here. I got a 2. So between 1 and 4, we got neither of these. Oh, really? Well, tell me about it, uh, Logan. We can probably incorporate it into a future language. I've got many of those to deal with. So, no serial verb constructions and no clause chaining. It's, you know. And then we're going to roll on this table 14. So with a 14, that's between 13 and 16. Okay, so there is a distinction between simultaneous and sequential clauses. So let's go ahead and actually look at that feature and get an idea of and understand what that means. So if there is a marker on the question is concerned with whether there is an overt marker dedicated to signaling the distinction between temporally simultaneous and sequential actions. If sequential meaning is a secondary function of an imperfective aspect, this does not count. It must be indicated by a devoted marker. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I really should. It really would be great for me if I could get a document camera or something, some other way to get the dice rolls to show up. It would be nice to have some more advanced hardware in general, anyway. But yeah, but I know that it can be a little bit hard to see my rolls. Okay, let's get this. If sequential meaning is a secondary function of an imperfect aspect, this does not count. It has to be, so there has to be a marker specifically denoting this. The language does not need to express both sequential and simultaneous temporal relationships overtly. One marker for either. Let's look at their examples. So here, okay, he fell asleep while I was there, and the be there that's marked with this simultaneous marker. Oh. Oh gosh, Logan. That's really cool. That might be something to use in the future. Uh, it also doesn't fit at all with my my roles, right? No, it wouldn't have fit with the roles that I happen to do, but maybe in a future language I just won't roll and just will go with that wild strategy. That's an idea to do. So the verb is in attributive position, and then all the other arguments are stranded. That's interesting. Okay, let's let's go. So, but this language, it has a simultaneous and a sequential, and it looks like it's attached to the verb. Um, it wouldn't necessarily. Um, Interesting that this ends up being linked to clause chaining, but I don't have clause chaining, so I need to figure out how to make this happen without clause chaining. Um, it's interesting that we have this translated as while, because while definitely does mark something that is simultaneous. We're going to have to think about, though, exactly how our subordinate clauses work. So, without so let's go look at this. So, um, marker to distinguish simultaneous and sequential clauses. So, and apparently, uh, yeah, I don't know if I should keep my roles or not. Um, no, but it would help me if I had some other things involved. Okay, so let's start thinking about subordinate clauses. So a subordinate clause, the easiest kinds of examples that you have in English are like, I think there is someone, I think he left. When we have this, yeah. I am not actually as prepared as I usually am. I need to actually. Right. Subordinate clause, a dependent clause. Yeah. Yeah. I know who said that. Whoever made that assertion is wrong. Yeah. So basically, subordinate clauses and dependent clauses generally are a big um like a big category that can go in a lot of different ways. Um, we have this doesn't have a whole lot of different strategies from different languages, so that's not really that helpful. We have mm, mm, we have we've designed the relative clauses already. And the relative clause I had just with a resumptive pronoun. Um, Without having any like particular Yeah. We don't need to deal with the sequential thing here. Yeah. Just thinking for a second what I want to do for. So a subordinate clause, we have a relative clause. It's kind of a type of dependent clause. And a relative clause is an attributive to a noun. And we have our whole deal with this. Okay? Um, let me make sure that I understand what clause chaining is so I can avoid it. Okay. Yeah, so clause chaining, you generally have not completely inflected words, right? Morphologically reduced verb forms dependent on a single fully specified verb form. Yeah. Yeah. So, one thing we can definitely say is we're going to have our subordinate clauses have fully inflected verbs. Um, let's go with a sentence. I think he ate the meat, and I don't know if I have a verb for think as in believe. So we may have to create one just to have this example. Um, why am I going there? Okay, hold on a second. Think, believe, no. And never mind this. I was experimenting with getting my etymologies all sorted as separate pages so that I could do some linking stuff with the two um, languages I have in this family now. Do do why am I looking at these? Okay, so let's think about think. We can go ahead and get on clicks and what we actually want is as a concept we would want believe. Think, count. That's super cool. I want to mute that. Okay. Think, count, guess, believe, conceive. This is interesting. So count. Okay. A whole lot of these are from one language family. Uh, it's not necessarily the case that I would consider all these forms related, but I can't read this script, so it's hard to say. And then Turkic, uh, these Turkic forms definitely must be cognate. So so there's a question of is this a couple of coincidences we're looking at, or is this a real association? Think, reflect. Obviously, Indo-European does that a lot. Um, and these are all these, not all of them. A lot of these are cognates of a few different words. But you get a few different um, language families involved as well. There's quite a diversity there. So the thing is, that's exactly the same thing that English has. So I'm not sure if I want to do it. Um, hmm, think and guess is nice. Yeah, and if we go and if we go back and we go to the subgraph, think, believe. Okay, can people see me now? No. Oh, are we back? Okay. Okay, if we're good. Okay, all right. Um, all right. So I was just on clicks. I was talking about the different things. I think I'm going to go with the guess and the count, even though I have a little bit of doubt about this believe and count thing. I think I like it. Um, yeah. Okay. Everybody's telling me I'm back. I know that I'm back now. Um, it's. I think there was. I stopped recording on Riverside and then restarted. I think that there's a problem in the connection between Riverside and YouTube. So that I've been thinking about going back to OBS. There are ways to do things on OBS that would help me. But anyway, let me let me go ahead and get a root. Let's generate some roots and let's get a word for think so that we can get some handy. Okay, tre de pick d and okay. I need to because this is the wrong. Let me save this. Uh, and I will load up my other. Is that it? Wait, load. Yeah, this is guaranteed to be the most recent one, and that has my vowel harmony, everything. Okay, good. I don't want to get these Discord notifications right now. So we've got Dre, Nde, Fada, Ipek, and Et. ET, I'm not sure about. Fada, and Ipek, I think, are the ones that I like the most. So I'm going to make the poll about those. And we will get to going. Oh, we need to get some more people. Okay. All right. Well, end poll. I'm gonna tie break on this one. So looks like people like Dre, and Fada. I think Fada. I think I'm gonna go with Fada. And that will be this is going to be in here. And we've got okay. And let's go back here. Okay. And I'm going to be creating the proto-Draconic new. Um, Topher, I do kind of sometimes. The thing is, like, it is there are lots of times where I am looking at my list of roots and I'm like, okay, that one sounds like the word. Um, the reason that I do a lot of random generation is I'm trying to pull my English speaking bias out of that a little bit so that I'm not just always like kind of like so the people talk about like the Booba Kiki effect, and it does happen across a lot of languages, but it's not 100% consistent. And then there are further on things where you could be a little bit biased by your native language in those kinds of judgments. So I do the random stuff in order to sort of get around that. But we're going to yeah, I don't want it to be too Englishy. Fada, 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 fada. And then this is a verb, intransitive verb. Okay. That well, so this is a thing now. Um, I think we can go with intransitive here, but we're gonna have to think about like, is there going to be a postposition involved, or something like that, because we want to think about what role um, this whole clause is playing in the main clause sentence. So we have vi, and then we have to think, as in believe, and it's going to have to be transitive, isn't it? Yeah. To count, to uh, and to guess. No, we're going to make it. No. We're going to make this intransitive, and I think I have an idea about this. Yes, I think um, we can do something interesting with that. Um, Not that we need to. So I think here's what we get. We're gonna do here. So bad badaf. So it's badaf. Let's find badaf. Badaf. The singular accusative is badaf be. Badaf be. If, and this is going to be chitta, chitta, eat. What's eat? Chitta, yeah, chitta. It's gonna be, and I need to. So it's third person singular on both. And this should be uh, what is going on? This is really bad. I really need to rectify all of these. Um, Achitade. And then, okay, here's where I'm going to do something interesting. This is not necessarily okay. This is not necessarily um yeah, over above. Yeah, kit over kit. Yes. Kit, and then I need to get back to fada, and I need to get the inflections correct just to make sure that I have that all sorted out. So we go to Excel, we get our inflection work. No issues. Uh, let's let's see. Lexergy to verb root to Lexergy. We're going to get this form. And then we go into Lexergy and do our thing here. Okay. And we'll go ahead and make the chart. Let me get here. Let's get this out. And so we have this gafada. The biggest twist in this language for me in getting to pronounce it is pronouncing stressed schwas while also having unstressed other vowels in the word. It's really a different experience. So kit ga fada. So here is our subordinate clause. Okay. So let's just make a note here. Yeah. So here's our main matrix verb. Here's our main verb. Here's our subordinate clause. Now, this particular verb is intransitive. But the subordinate clause acts as a noun that is the object of this postposition kit. So it's I think over, and just to make this even more understandable, we have let's go uji and which modal can we use? Uji. Yeah, I think we have to. I think we can actually use this in sort of a subjunctive way, and we can have to express the j. Yeah. So we'll have the irrealis in this particular one because we have this think verb. Now, we need to go and get into more subordinate clause structures. One thing is that this simultaneous sequential distinction is not being shown here because this is a this is like disconnected from time. So we need to think of examples with time involved. So let's see. Someone can throw me an example sentence that has a temporal uh I'll look myself here, but just it needs to have a temporal subordinate clause of some kind. Uh, yes. Let's see. Yeah. Let's think. How about when I arrived, he flew away. No, when he saw me, he flew away. So we have to get to see, and yeah, it's going to be ichi agu ichi. Okay. Um, and we need to have the correct pronoun. It's guda. So let's go with that. Guda. So guda agu. Uh, and it's a third person, ubichi. Ubichi. And also, we don't have any switch reference system in here, so it's just going to be contextual that this is the same person that flew away, the same dragon, I guess, that flew away. Um, then we get we need the directional, so it's going to be k or k. So and then fly. Do I have a word for fly? I should. Fly. Dra. So it would be akadra. Kuda agu ubichi akadra. Akadra. So here's what we've got here. In this case, this is like an adverbial form, and I don't think we need to add any extra like syntactic thing. We could go with like a word that means that or something like this and put it in here. Um, um, so Topher, let me think through this for a second, and I'm going to get to that. There's a couple of answers to that question. So here we have Gita age ibichi akadra. So when he saw me, he flew away. We need to distinguish somehow between he flew away at the same time and then afterward. So let's no, don't say sorry. I'm just so let's think about that while I actually tackle your question really quick, because I know that you are you know, because this is something that I did want to discuss at the top of the show and ended up not. So let's go ahead and pull up. So I have two things on the Patreon that are relevant to that. So I'm just going to mention that. So right now we have the poll up. This is going to be up until I declare that we're done with Ndăkaga streams. So we're probably going to do writing and poetics, and then the last stream or the last few streams will be actually writing are writing the incantations for the cantrips, and then after that, then this poll will resolve, and we're going to decide which of these languages. And to answer your question, okay, on one part of it, celestial, infernal, and abyssal. And I don't really like how this shows up in dark mode, but we're working with it. Celestial, infernal, and abyssal are all going to be related. So if we choose one of these, then we're kind of going to be working on all of them, because we're going to have to work on the proto language for all three of them. And then they are different levels of innovation. Celestial is going to be most conservative. Abyssal is going to be most innovative. I felt like that was a way to show the nature of these different beings. Sylvan would not be related to anything, although it's like theoretically, like maybe my version of Elvish would be descended from them, or some Elvish languages would be descended from it. I don't know. The other thing is I am on Patreon going to periodically be giving updates on a sister language to Ndăkaga, it's not going to be part of the mainstream. It's going to be something that I'll occasionally post updates to the Patreon for patrons on, and it's going to be a bit more buildy like centric in order to it's sort of an idea of like, okay, Ndăkaga you can slot into any world, but this serpentine language, this is specifically in my sort of thought for the history, is that dragons and like sea serpents and giant serpents are related, and oh, they have two branches of the language, and then these two branches are also gonna branch, also could branch off into the languages of various reptilian creatures, reptilian races that exist in D&D. I know that I've said I don't like the one race, one language thing in D&D. But so the thing that I'm doing is I'm going to make Sylvan, and I'm going to treat it as Sylvan is the druid spellcasting language. Druidic, from the way it's described, is more like a register and like an obfuscation thing. It's like Druidic and Thieves' Cant are kind of the same thing in that they are not languages per se, but registered. Um, I don't know about a dialect continuum. I'm. It's more into like traditional language families, but it's all going to be. Um, yeah, it's all going to be like different. It's sort of it for the celestial infernal thing. I felt that it would make sense for them to be related, because the whole thing of celestials and fiends, it's really like dripping with the Christian mythology, and making them related would fit in with that kind of theming. Um, it is a I find that world building with D&D like as a backdrop is an interesting challenge, because you have these different entities in the world building that kind of have overlapping um uh like roles in actual stories and folklore. I could like in a real world stories, I could if I'm writing a novel with fantasy stuff, I could slot in a demon or a fae in order to play sort of the same role. Some otherworldly being that you make a deal with, and there's a little bit of extra coloring into how things are done. And then, but D&D has all of those in one world. And so you've got to like make roles for them and make them distinct enough. It's an interesting challenge, I think. Anyway, back to this. So let's think about how are we going to mark this. We've got so Ndăkaga Ubichi Akadra. Um, Akadra. So we have to think about, so first of all, are we going to mark the simultaneous or are we going to mark the sequential, or are we going to mark both? Is a question. I think. So, Ndăkaga ubichi. Let's check our example from Graham Bank. So, our example was southeastern Pomo. Okay. Here, it's the subordinate clause has a marker. And it has there's separate markers for simultaneous and sequential. Now, um, so we can go that way, or we can mark just one. Let me see if I can find anything. Uh, Linguistics. So, okay, this is talking about serial verb constructions. Okay, I really need to. Okay, this mean that I think I need to um, possibly. Okay, so let's look at our word lexicon of grammaticalization and see if it has anything to say about either sequential or simultaneous. Control sequential. Okay. Come can become a sequential clause marker. Um, Front as before. That's something we need to think about more, and is like the. Yeah. Okay, so let's look at what can be simultaneous. Okay, there's a comitative marker, becomes it simultaneous, huh? Okay, this is the only thing that it has is just a commutative or instrument. It's an option for us to think about. So, let's see. So, um, where does while come from? Let me get some things up here. We can also just sort of get an idea, get while here. There's no real connections there, so we go to that sim shift and while. Yeah, that's not giving me anything. Rest, and then okay, this is the this, but that's the same etymology here. During the same time that the shahou is just, Chinese just is the time, or dang, which I don't know where dang comes from. That's interesting. So we can go look at a few other things here. Mientras. Focus and mientras, meanwhile. Oh, I need to. It isn't giving me. The Asturian is not actually giving me the thing. Mientras. De mientre from dum iterum. Both of those meant while already. Okay. I am thinking here. With what is our commutative with? Nyade. Nyade. Hmm. Okay. I think we're not. I'm not sold on that as a source. We can think about other. Yeah. But wait, so this means beside too. Nyade. 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 So, okay, let's uchicha adracha. Okay, so one thing is that we're going to have this, and but it can't actually just be about imperfective. So, chanya. Ubichichana. Ubichichanya. Ubichichanya. Akatucha. Seems like it might get a little bit lost at the end there. Ubi chichan. Guda agu. Ubi chichanya. Akadracha. I think I like it, actually. I think this is what we're going to do, is what we have is this suffix. It's going to be like the last suffix on the verb is going to be this nya suffix. Nya, and it's coming from nyade, and that will mark simultaneous actions. We're just going to mark the simultaneous. We aren't going to necessarily mark the sequential. It might happen by adding a postposition, okay, in order to get distinction between before and after. But our default is going to be that this happened first, and then this action happened. But this is like literally at the same time that he was flying away. He flew away, which is like this is a weird example. It's kind of hard for this to happen pragmatically, but you can understand this. This is where this is coming from. So let's add that suffix. So simultaneous, and I'm gonna go ahead and add it to the subordinate verb, because that's where that nya will be closer to syntactically and how it will get attached on. Action is marked with the suffix nya on the verb. Right. So we've got this. So we've got our idea of simultaneous. We have our basic idea of how subordinate clauses are going to be. I'm just going to make it a sentence goes in the same slot that this subordinate clause goes into. And that actually fits with the way our relative clauses go. The relative clause is just a whole sentence with the relativized argument in there, internally headed, with a resumptive pronoun to point back to it. And then probably either of these can be omitted. because we are fairly heavily pro drop. Or we have reason to allow this language to be very heavily pro drop. I kind of want to do it that way just so that I can save space. So this gives us all of our basics, and um, I can flesh this out with more work on like time and um, time expressions and different ways of doing that kind of thing. But we can work on that. So if you're a patron, or if you would like to become a patron and go in there, um, we're voting on the next language. I am also working on my initial idea. I haven't put up the poll yet because I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do here, but I sort of mocked up an idea. Or I was thinking about having claws being pressed, the pressing claws into a soft medium, but feels it's. I'm not sure how I'm going to get a hold of the materials to test that out, and it also felt a little bit more real to me for them to just scratch. So these are assuming like four claws that are like this, right? This is the kinds of strokes that I expect to be easy to make. Either you are go straight down, or you go across, or you go diagonally. And probably across these ones are not going to be like super common because it's just going to be easier to be like this. Jit, jit, jit. Or if you're writing vertically, you just keep going vit, 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 vit. Um, and not have to or reorient your claw, reorient the talon all the time. Um, so that is any glyphs that we make would be built off of these basic strokes is what I'm thinking. And the options would be to have like something that's a little bit more representative, um, something that's a little bit more. Um, it's going to be a phonetic system. It's always going to be a phonetic system. Um, but you get um, either we can do varying lengths and start out with pictures that get simplified. Um, uh, yeah. Well, I'm going to study Ogum because so one of I was just getting to like one way to use these would be to just do start from pictures and get them simplified into these strokes and just have like regular characters going across. The other was I was considering going with Ogam. The thing is, like, let's 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 look at the Ogam characters. So obviously it's made to write Irish, uh, like Old Irish or Middle Irish. Um, so we would be doing it totally differently. The thing is, like, if you're borrowing from the Ogham aesthetic, I'm a little iffy on like doing that because it's just gonna 100% look like Ogham. We might we might have some extra. I might maybe we could do something extra with some extra decorations and stuff. Yeah. A single horizontal stroke without or reorienting. Yes. So we could, yeah, we could have like this one be more common than all of these. Definitely. Um, Used for Welsh as well? Okay. Yeah. I could study a little bit about that. Um, it's a little bit so making something that's based on Ogham also it's it's feels like it's going to be a different process than what you would typically do when designing a script because like this this is not based on pictures. These did not come from pictures, I don't think. Maybe some of these ones have some relationship with. Okay, but what one thing I'm thinking now that I'm looking at this is in order to prevent it from looking too much like straight up Ogham, we could lean into a little bit more of this kind of character where you have two strokes crossing each other. Um, that might help us out in a lot of different ways. Um, yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, um, because like we can have this more of this kind of crosshatch and more of this kind of character, which would which and less of the just these simple. So you have some of them, but like if you used a little bit more of these crossing ones, then probably more of these than these. Then you would probably get away from the Ogham enough to make it look distinct. Um, Another thing could be to still go look at make some pictures and simplify them, and then that could end up giving us different kinds of shapes than what we see here, which is uh, I mean it's not featural, it's just kind of it's just very basic. Yeah. Cuneiform was another thing. So one of my ideas was actually to be like more directly cuneiform inspired and have the pressing claws into a soft medium. But I think scratching, but still having like a cuneiform esque thing would would help would work well. Um, yeah. Yeah. The whole idea is like I want it to be a system that dragons use and what writing implement does a dragon have all the time? They always have their claws and these would are presumably supernaturally sharp claws so they can scratch their things into rock with their supernaturally hard and sharp claws. Um, so something like Ogum could happen. Maybe something like a. It's not going to be. It's not going to end up like cuneiform in that it's not going to be like the uniform reed end thing, but you could be scratching. Um, yeah, I think we could combine actually a little bit. So look at cuneiform. So, yeah, if we get... So cuneiform, we're not going to have the directionality of strokes that you get with cuneiform, but we can have some characters that are a little bit like this. Um, I really am not thinking that we're going to do too much switching between vertical and horizontal. I think I want to keep it in a way where you still keep the talon oriented in one direction most of the time. Yeah. So, Topher, you ask a very good world building question. And the answer to that is it's Dungeons and Dragons, and people write in Draconic in spell books, and the thing lists Draconic as like a as having its own script that's called Draconic. So the way that I interpret that, and the way that I think I'm thinking in order to do that. Um, okay, so this is a bunch of uniform. Um, the way that I am implementing that is just to say that they did invent their own writing system for some reason. Uh, Now we could debate about like maybe humanoids developed writing first and then dragons caught on and decided to make something. Maybe uh maybe they made writing themselves. Maybe they are just so magically endowed with knowledge of writing, you know? Um yeah. Yeah, this yeah. The thing is like well, getting the script from someone else, that kind of breaks with my goal of letting everybody sort of slot this into their world. It's it's definitely a good thing if you develop a script that if you develop a script with the idea in mind that maybe that someone else wrote with this before and it's been adapted here, you can get a whole lot of interesting historical like nuances coming from that and stuff. It's just that that particular kind of world building does not necessarily fit my goal here. My goal here is to have Draconic be have Ndăkaga be something that people can slot into their D&D campaigns, and it won't necessarily. There is some world building stuff that I've built into it because I had to, but even that was in some ways a way to get around uh, being too specific. But like I had the idea that dragons have magnetoreception. The reason I did that was I needed to have them have a term for like the North Pole, but I didn't want to have any like geographical reference. I didn't want to like set in stone that in this world the pole the North Pole is in some particular place and the South Pole is in some particular place. So I came across the idea the way that birds sense magnetic fields and the fact that they can't actually detect which way is north and south. Well, that means that I can give them that sense and they just naturally know where the poles are, but aren't necessarily going to distinguish between them. Yeah. 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 But yeah, being exposed to other writing systems could be something that happened. Um, but uh, but yeah. Anyway, that's a lot of talk about that. Why don't we? Um, I have a few other things I want to see about. File open. Let's open my dice tables. So constructions. Yeah. So my constructions tables are not here. Adjectives. Yeah. Is there marking of comparatives adjectives? So there are quite a few other things in GramBank that I'm not sure that I want to actually make dice tables of. That I still am thinking about. So like, look at the features. We've got, for example, suppletion. So they have a bunch of things that have to do with suppletion. And like, or, well, basically just these six. This is not suppletion exclusive. And that's sort of a situation where I would do suppletion where it makes sense. I have done suppletion where it made sense with the estar verb, right? The other things, so comparatives. So we've done this part, okay? This part we have, okay? Here we have this situation of we could do a thing, we could do a chart with this, with these features, but I'm not 100% sure that I want to. I just have an idea of, okay, a lot of languages have this surpass or exceed. And then there's not so many languages just have two conjoined clauses. There's the locational meaning one. Okay, I may develop yeah, I may develop a dice table for this. And then looking at other constructions, things about constructions. We did a lot of we did stuff with possessive constructions, and we decided that there just wasn't one. Um, um, you guys want to make a dice table right now? I don't know if I've shown my full process for doing that. And well, we got a little bit of time. We can get started on it. Let's get this, because I think actually I want to figure out how our comparative constructions work. I'm not 100% in love with having this like source of the meaning. Yeah. let's go ahead and do that. And I'll show you guys how we how we do that. So we're going to go into R, because this R will allow me to pull multiple. I'm not updating R because the update caused problems for me earlier. So so we need to. Can you guys see the see everything? So you'd have to. The important package here is the Ling typology. That's what gets you access to GrandBank. Um, I don't. I don't really do. What I'm doing here like doesn't really require me to do much fancy like joins and stuff. It's very. I'm doing some very simple work. I'm only even in R because this is the only way. Yeah. So I have actually done this before, but I'm going to go ahead and how do you do this? Okay, GrandBank feature. So let's go ahead and do this. We have GrandBank feature, and we're going to grab what just happened there. Okay, we're going to grab these features. So 265, 266, 270, 273. We've already done this, and it's kind of orthogonal, so I don't think I need to have that. So let's go. So you go GB 265. And GB 266. GB 270. And GB 273. Where do I have an extra? Why do I have this? Okay. Okay, there we go. And just so that I can remember what I'm even doing here, I just take these from here. Just copy all of these, all of this, and I'll edit the. Yeah, I was confused about that terminology because that's not what you do. And then just it's good to like go click in and see if there's anything you're missing in the related features. It looks like this is basically it. There's going to be these two which I've already determined and are in another table, so I'm not going to worry about that. But so here we go. We run, get the library, get the dplyr library, run this, and it takes a while because it's downloading from GrandBank and it's doing a good bit of work. So I will set up some things while this is going. And GB265. 266, GB 270, and GB 273. And hi, Alien Overload Lord. This is not what I typically do, but I thought I would. We're kind of done with major syntactic constructions for Draconic, but I had the opportunity to go and make one of my dice tables and get the comparative constructions, and this is what we're doing. So we've got the features. And one thing about this I discovered, because I was trying to figure out if in any one of these has a question mark for a language, meaning that like it's like uncertain, then it's gonna that language will be excluded from your data automatically. So you don't need to worry about excluding languages that have it. It automatically does it. Now I run this. Oh, it's what happened? Did I name this differently? Oh. Did I mess up? What's going on? Okay, let me copy and paste this to make sure that I have the same thing. Oh, I misspelled it. Okay, so since we've got 4 options, we have 16 of these things. 16 possible combinations, right? Because and there's 112 languages that have. There's one language that has this particular configuration, which is there's a locational, there's conjoined clause, and there is a comparative construction with the surpassing seed. Wait, or there's one that has neither. So that's interesting. So what I do from here is it's just easier to do the rest of this in Excel. So I'm going to export this as a CSV. We go here. We go here. And we go here. Yeah, I might be overwriting something, but that's not a huge deal right now while we're, yeah, okay. Yes, I definitely am going to be overwriting something, so. Let's call it comparative const. To make sure I'm not gonna, yeah. So, gonna have this, run, and we're going to open that CSV. Tongues and runes, yeah. Okay, and here we have it. And then we'll insert this. Yeah. Yeah, basically, I find some features that go together as a system, right? Like all those comparative constructions, they're going to have some relationship. Like lots of languages will have one and not the other. Um, and then I I use the Graham Bank to spit that out. And now I have numbers for all of these different combinations that I am running with. Uh, Now let me go. I'm going to go and make a note above each one of these so I still know what it is. So the GB265. This is the surpass exceed. Basically, what it means is that somewhere in your construction, in your comparative construction, there's a verb that means to surpass, to exceed, um, and then uh, for 266, it's um, a marker that has some kind of a location meaning. So we'll have let's say locational for that. Then 270 can comparatives be expressed using two conjoined clauses. So conjoined clause, meaning is it this and that, right? Um, um, Instead of saying is he stronger than him, it's like it is he strong, is he strong, right? Is he stronger than her? Is like is he strong, or is he strong, or is she strong, kind of thing. So we have that. Um, and then the last one is the marker is neither locational nor surpass exceed. So I'm going to call that other marker. We'll call it other marker. Just this is just for my reference. When I write it up, then I'm going to do that, deal with it differently. So we're going to sort this based on the count from the largest to smallest. This usually will get me to things that are more likely. Yeah. And then here's the part where we convert this into a dice table. Let me actually grab my formulae from another one of these. Okay, I'm going to have to adjust it. So here's the thing. So, okay, this is going to be, we're gonna start off with a D100 table. But, so for that, I have a formula calculated as percentage, right? I need to use integers, so I do a rounding here. And then this is funny, so I just set this one to 1, but what we have here is we have a formula that adds 1 to this number, and then you have a formula that adds this number, which is like the percentage, plus this one, so that this gets you your minimum and maximum die roll for that particular one. So we take this down, and we see that we actually have more than 100, which is fine. We can deal with that. This is where see ya, Topher. This is where I have to like consider how I'm going to sort this out. So we have, when you're getting into like small numbers of languages, especially if you have just one example, but like even just any small number of languages, there's always this concern that there will be enough coding errors in the gram bank data to mess you up. This happened to me with negatives and with questions to some extent. Is that there were like I had situations where I was dealing with coding errors. I think we can pretty safely exclude this possibility because this is only one language. And I could look up that language and look at the notes and see about it, but like I'm not necessarily I I definitely want the potential in these dice tables to get some weird results. But I'm not necessarily married. I'm not necessarily going to chase down every single possibility and have it in represented in the dice tables because it's gonna be crazy. And I'm not. And you can have things that are miscoded in the database, and I'm not an expert in every language, so I can't verify everything. We can. That still means we're going to 101. So we have to think about, do we want to include both of these since they're both the same? This is going to make them much more common than they are in the real world. But we'd have a situation where all three of these things are possible, huh? And that's not too. Now, all four of these things are possible, right? And that's not too weird. We could have like separate comparative constructions that have three different markers. We could have all kinds of reasons for that to happen. It could be a different register. It could be all kinds of things. Just could be just be dialectal. And then this other one is minus the conjoined, which I'm surprised that this is not more common because it would make sense that they just use these markers all the time but not have the conjoined. Um, but like anything below 10% is usually below 10 languages I usually think of as fair game to cut. But since we do have 100 here, I feel like I want to keep them. And I'm not being scientific about this, obviously. This is just me dealing with it. So we have to what we have to do is we have to fudge somewhere up here where we can like cut one down. Yeah. Yeah. There's so the way that I usually fudge things is I look for something that's very close. So what we need is we need to bump up the likelihood of something else down here so that these numbers end up going up. The or no, we need to reduce the likelihood of one of these. And so probably we look for this this one. Let's see. This is 0.65, this is 0.62. So this one is the lowest thing that got rounded up. So if we fudge this and put a 19 in here, and I just notate that I fudged it, then it comes out to where we have 100 here. And that's actually a great one to have as 100 because we end up with, if you roll 100 on your percentile die, then you have all of them. And that's just like, that's just feels cool that you rolled 100 and you ended up with this weird having everything happen. Now we can reorder things a little bit. I think I usually like to have the none be at the top, but I think in this case it's okay to have it here because it's just 10%. Um, that's something I will think about later as I actually transform this into a table that people are meant to read and use. But since we have this table now, it's coming close to the end of the stream, but I think I will roll this in front of y'all, and then I will work on this on my own because I have a bunch of things that I want to do with the language on my own, and like figure out what this means, and then next time I will show this to you guys, and we will move on to the next phase of this, which I need to. I think on my own, I need to do some vocabulary building and some translation challenges in order to build up the language. Um, but otherwise, and it'll be useful to have the comparative construction because say if I want to do the north wind of the sun and the sun, I need to know how to do comparatives. Um, then we so let's roll on this table. It's a 51, and if we consult this between 47 and 63, it just has the surpass exceed. So I said I was going to do that off screen, but actually I have a great idea about that. Um, so it's not, we don't have conjoined clauses. I actually have a great idea for that. So we have this chagi, which doesn't even have its own thing. What if chagi means surpass or exceed in some way? Chagi. So where did that come from? Chagi. So it had to be like Chagi. Chagi. It had to be like Chagi. So what if this... Yes. Okay. Chagi. Oh, this is annoying. Okay. Oh, this should be aspirated. Verb transitive. To surpass or exceed. and then secondary as there we go. Yeah. So here we go, and let's go ahead and get our let's go ahead and run our Lexergy stuff so that I can have the inflections and we're going to go into Lexergy. Yes. Oh, I need to actually turn this into the transitive table, and by the way, if anyone knows how to, jeez, what happened here? Okay. If anyone knows how to get cells to merge in these tables, I would very much appreciate it. I have tried 2 different plugins for Obsidian, and they just don't work for merging cells. I would like to be able to merge these 2 cells, for example, and merge these 2 cells, but it's just not happening for me. It's the one big gripe that I have with Obsidian. It's otherwise very good for what I want in a dictionary. It's just tables are annoying. So let's come up with an example sentence to actually illustrate the construction itself. So generally, when we have this, basically it's going to be like similar to Chinese, where you have what does Chinese do? So Chinese is yeah, it would be long bi ren da. Yes, in Chinese you have like the one you just have the verb. Okay. Yes, the fact that I have comparatives actually is very helpful here. Um, uh, um, the fact that I have comparative forms is actually very helpful here because of the way this language is. So let's comparative and home. Yeah, it's the markdown tables just don't work, and I don't know. I can try to rewrite my tables in HTML, um, but I'll see. I'll have to see. It's just a little paper cut that I have. Okay. Comparative constructions are formed using the verb chagi. And we can explain that later. So, dragons are... Do we have a word for big? Big. We don't have a word for big? Do we have a... We don't have small or big. I do want something that we can... soft. Let's just... Well, we will make a word for big, but I don't have a lot of time. So I'm going to use soft, which can also mean weak and young. So let's actually say humanoids are softer than dragons. It makes sense. And so it's and so let's look up this afa, and oh, I don't have the comparative listed here. So let's list the comparative. And which comparative is it going to take? It's probably going to be the inherent property one, ig. So afig, uffa. Okay, afig, yeah. Uh, say. Now that I'm building a construction on this, I'm not sure if it works right. So let's consider this here. Let's put this together here. I need to go in a minute. So I'm gonna have this down as a draft. So as new bail, new bail. New bell. Afig. No. Yes. Afig. New bell. Ndăkaga. And it what would it would be chagi. Let's go find chagi. Chagingi. It's this. This is the form. Okay. You're chugging, yeah. Okay. So, the literal translation is soft bipeds, winged dragons, yeah, exceed. Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks for stopping by. All right, I'm going to head out now, and this is going to be like a draft for this. Um, and speaking of drafts, I think next time what I will do is I'm going to be going back through the language a little bit myself, and I have a few things that I have noticed that I may want to adjust a little bit before we go dive into like translations and everything. So we'll be going over that kind of thing, and we'll be doing that, and I will do some things on my own. Uh, but with but thank you all for watching, and happy conlanging.